In the winter of 1851, a renovation team working beneath the altar of a long-abandoned academy uncovered a mason jar. Sealed tight, wrapped in decayed cloth, hidden behind centuries-old stone. Inside, a brittle letter, ink faded but legible enough to spark the kind of questions no one dares to answer out loud. It began with just 6 words. We are still here, all 20. St. Catherine's Academy was supposed to be a sanctuary, a refuge for orphaned girls ages 12 to 17. What it became was something else entirely. Behind its ivy-covered brick walls on Gallows Hill, Salem, the rituals that took place didn't save souls. They auctioned them. And the 3 women who ran that school, they weren't nuns. They weren't teachers. They were something far older, far darker, something the church itself had quietly disowned. For over a century, nothing escaped those walls. Not the girls, not their names, not even their screams. Just silence. Until now. Because what they found in that jar and what I'm about to show you peels back the veil on a hidden history so sickening, so methodically buried, it reshaped the very institutions we still trust today. This isn't folklore. This isn't ghost stories. This is power, rotting, institutionalized, holy. And it's time you saw it for what it really is. In 1834, when it was founded, Massachusetts was drowning in children. The Industrial Revolution had orphaned thousands, factories collapsing, tenements burning, plagues devouring families overnight. The state needed somewhere to put them, somewhere out of sight. Enter Mother Superior Victoria Whitman, tall, silver-haired, dignified. She spoke with the calculated softness of a woman who knew how to wield fear behind a smile. She claimed she'd come from Ireland, that she'd served in convents across Europe, but her records didn't trace back further than 1833, the year a church in Kilkenny burned to the ground with 16 orphan girls locked in the cellar. No survivors, no investigation. At St. Catherine's, she was joined by 2 others, Sister Margaret Collins, sweet-voiced, motherly, and Sister Agnes Murphy, stern, methodical, watching everything. The girls they took in were promised refinement, education, adoption. What they got was obedience training, silence, and punishment for curiosity. Every window above the 2nd floor was nailed shut. Every dormitory locked from the outside. And the basement? Always off limits. Rumored by the girls to hold the iron beds. Each child who entered was documented, but none were documented leaving. The townspeople of Salem praised the academy. Ministers called it God's work. Mothers who couldn't feed their daughters found comfort knowing the sisters would shape them into young ladies. But comfort, like beauty, is easy to fake. The deeper you look into the story, the more you'll realize no one was who they claimed to be. And the girls, they didn't just vanish. They were transformed. In every great deception, there's a mask. And St. Catherine's wore its mask perfectly. When inspectors came, they saw starched aprons, silent prayers, and soft-spoken nuns who fed them tea and lies. Every visitor was shown the same dormitory, 10 beds, clean linens, smiling girls rehearsed to say the right things. But they never noticed. The rest of the building was soundproofed. The 2nd floor housed the obedient ones. The 3rd floor? No one went up there but the sisters. And yet, sometimes, late at night, a neighbor walking home from the tannery heard strange sounds through the brick. Humming, chanting, and once, something like screaming muffled under floorboards. Inside the academy, the girls learned more than embroidery and Latin hymns. They were taught how to kneel for hours without moving, how to make eye contact only when allowed, how to smile when it hurt. And when a girl disobeyed, even slightly, she was sent to the basement. The others called it the hollow room. No one ever spoke about what happened there. But when the girl returned, if she returned, she was quieter. Her eyes no longer moved freely, and always she had a mark, a small scar just above the collarbone, like a burn hidden beneath the uniform. They called it the seal. Most chilling, the girls began to discipline each other, not out of malice, but fear. Fear of what the sisters whispered would happen if the wrong man found you untrained. Because these girls weren't being adopted. The hollow room was never on the blueprints. It didn't exist to the city of Salem. But every girl at St. Catherine's knew it was real. Some whispered that it had once been part of a hidden tunnel network beneath the city, used by smugglers, cultists, and worse. Others said it predated the school entirely, built during the witch trials to imprison the accused in silence. But what made the hollow room terrifying wasn't just what happened there, it was what came out. After a girl spent time in that room, she was no longer the same. She walked differently, she obeyed faster. Her voice became hollow, her gaze distant, as if someone else had taken up residence behind her eyes. Some claimed they heard chanting through the vents, not Latin, older, darker. A few girls tried to escape. One, Anna Louise Bramwell, managed to slip out during a Sunday service. She ran barefoot through the forest for 6 miles before reaching the edge of Salem, bruised, bleeding, half-conscious. But when the constable came to take her statement, Mother Superior was already there, waiting. Anna was returned to the academy that night. She was never seen again. But weeks later, a new girl arrived. Same height, similar features, same name. But something was off. Her voice was too even, her smile too still. And when she slept, she didn't move. Not once. That's when the others began to wonder, were the girls who came out of the hollow room even the same girls who went in? Or were they something else? Manufactured, controlled, replaced? And if so, replaced by what? There are rumors, buried deep in declassified Vatican documents, of an order that trained young women to serve as psychological agents, infiltrators of elite households, made to be charming, docile, and obedient. The ledger was wrapped in lambskin, tucked behind a false panel in the altar's base. Discovered by accident in 1987 by a carpenter named Harold Vexley during routine church renovations. What he thought was just a loose stone revealed a void, and in that void, the book. No title, no names, just codes, initials, and dates, and symbols, pages of them, brands, seals, glyphs of forgotten power traced in fading ink, the kind that seemed to move when stared at too long. Harold thought he was reading financial records until he matched the codes to missing persons reports from the 1840s. Then he realized something sickening. This wasn't a school registry. It was an inventory. Each girl had an entry: age, weight, blood type, eye color, behavioral rating, and a final column labeled disposition. Most entries ended in an ornate red V, a symbol also carved into the back of the altar. Others had no letter at all, only a black circle like a sealed fate. The V appeared 20 times, 20 girls, all marked, all recorded, all disposed of by 1851. But here's where it turns. The ledger doesn't stop in 1851. There are entries dated as late as 1906, long after the school was allegedly shut down, long after the public believed the sisters had been arrested and the institution buried. So who kept writing in the ledger? Who was still marking girls with the V? And more importantly, where were they being sent? Harold took the book to a local historian, Margaret Elwood, a woman obsessed with Salem's hidden legacy. She cross-referenced the entries with shipping logs from the Boston harbor. What she found? Every girl marked with a V was exported, not adopted, not relocated, via private vessel to a location blacked out in every surviving log. When Elwood tried to publish her findings, her research was seized under a sealed court order. Within a month, she was found dead in her apartment, carbon monoxide poisoning. But the gas line was intact. Her copy of the ledger? There are forces that move history from the shadows, powers that don't write laws, but write people. St. Catherine's was never shut down. It just changed names, changed hands. And the girls, some say they still exist, but they don't remember who they are anymore. The investigation into St. Catherine's Academy never made it to trial. Witnesses disappeared. Testimonies vanished. 2 detectives involved in the original raid died in what were labeled unrelated accidents. One fell from a church bell tower. The other was found in his bathtub, wrist slashed. The words, "I was blind," scrawled across the mirror in soap. The girls who were recovered, those who survived, were institutionalized, moved from one private facility to another until their names were forgotten entirely. Their files marked inconclusive. But one girl, just one, escaped the fate laid out for the rest. Her name was Hannah Clark. You've heard that name before. She was supposed to be handed off to Cornelius Blackwood, the fake persona created by Detective Ashworth. But Ashworth went missing before the transfer could occur. His last known message? A scrawled note left in the glove box of his carriage. They do not serve God here. They serve something older. Hannah vanished after the scandal broke. But in 1899, a woman by that same name, now in her late 60s, gave a private testimony to a member of the Catholic Benevolent Society in New Haven. It was recorded under lock and key, labeled confession, and kept hidden until it was declassified 103 years later. In it, she described ritual cleansings that took place in the 3rd floor chamber. Girls being forced to wear veils, singing hymns backward, being placed into coffins and told to die to the world and be reborn. But the final part of her confession was whispered. They fed us something in the tea, something that made time stutter. You'd blink and it was night. Blink again and it was 3 days later. We were being prepared, not for life, not for adoption, for offering. She never said who they were. Some of us never left. Some of us still dream through the walls. The building was torn down in 1931, but the land, still fenced, still watched, still off limits. The foundation remains, and if you stand at its center at 3:17 a.m., locals say you can still hear girls singing beneath your feet. Not mourning, not praying, waiting. Waiting for someone to finish what was started. The 20 orphan girls never left.